we are going to stitch up the eyeglass case in the hoop project. So this is the eyeglass case. It's a little pouch that has an eyeglass rag stitched into the bottom of it, which is great. Put your sunglasses, your glasses out on the go, so you always have a rag with you, because I never can find a rag when I need it. And it just rolls down, gets shoved back in the pouch, and snaps closed. You can put it on your bag, on your keys, whatever. It's super quick and easy, and it is 4x4 friendly. It's a really quick project. It takes less than 5 minutes to do, honestly. I am using, I don't know if there's even like a standard size rag, but I have this guy who's probably a little over 6 inches by 6 inches. It doesn't need to be exact. It's going to shove that in there, but any eyeglass rag will do. If you've got a million of them stuffed in your drawers, something you can actually do with them. And we see 2 pieces of vinyl, a snap, and an eyelet. So for our first step, like any other on the hoop design, is going to be stitching directly on stabilizer. I'm using cutaway, but you can use tearaway as well. It's not a very densely stitched design, so tearaway is totally fine. It's also a great project if you've got some novelty vinyl that maybe doesn't seem to be stitching very well. This is a good way to kind of use that up too. Like this one here, this little rainbow one, this vinyl is not great at all, but it's perfect for just quick kind of simple stitch projects. But I know it's not going to hold up to satin. It's going to perforate. Dense designs kind of pucker and stretch it and distort it, but it's great for these little projects here. So I like to use them up that way. All right, so our first step is on stabilizer. We're going to flip our hoop over, and we're actually going to put our backing on first. So I like to clean up any loose ends there. Easy so to stick out later. And I'm going to put down my backing vinyl. So, and I'm going to tape it down out of my line of stitching. So make sure where my tape isn't where the needle's going to go. I don't want the tape gumming up my needle, but I want to get this nice and secured down. So go ahead and tape that up just on the back here, and then return it back to your machine. Pop your hoop back on. And then we're going to run the next step to tack down this backing piece. In this design too, there's a bunch of color stops for the steps, so it stops you to the next step, but you could run this all in one color and make it even quicker too. Not to change threads, just do your color, your vinyl that you're using, and call it a day. Alright, so we have our backing tacked down. Now it's time to add our rag. So what you're going to do is grab your rag and take one of the corners. And I want you to kind of bring the corner down, and then I want you to fold this up so that this edge is right flush against that bottom line of stitching there. And then we're going to return that back to our hoop. And then we are going to tack down that rag right there along that line of stitching. Of course, my fold's a little short here, so I'm going to grab my little purple thing to make sure that it goes under my foot there and doesn't get caught up. There we go. I'm stitching right there along the bottom, just so it's going to secure it inside the case. All right, just 2 more steps and we're done on the hoop. All right, so for this next step, I want you to go ahead and fold down your rag, and then run the next step. It's going to show you where to place your front vinyl. So it's going to give you a little placement line across the top on either side to show where to place that vinyl. Just a little mini line, because you want your pocket to cover up that eyelet section. It looks like the machine didn't cut that thread. Very nice of it. right, but I'm going to cut that thread. That was rude. Cut. Cut. All right, so you have 2 little lines across the top, and that tells us where to place our vinyl. What we need to do now is we need to get this up and out of the way. So this last step is not going to stitch around the top of the design. So all you have to do is tuck your sides in. So get your sides nice and tucked in so that they're not going to get hit on this next set of stitching. So something like that. So we have our sides here. It's not going to stitch the top, so it's going to get stitched here along the sides and the bottom. And go ahead and place our vinyl down. Put that directly lined up with those placement stitches from the last step. Let's go ahead and run this next step to tack down the front of our vinyl. And then after this, all we have to do is add our placements for our snap and our eyelet. If you want to live dangerously, you could skip the placement lines here for the snap and the eyelet, but I do add them in there just so you know. But you are going to need to go ahead and fold this down one more time because it's going to stitch a placement here to mark the eyelet section, and then a placement up here to mark where you place the snap on the flap. So go ahead and make sure this is down. You don't want to stitch this down into the next set of placements. So go ahead and just fold that down. And then we're going to do our eyelet placement here on the left side. And then the placement there at the top for our snap. All right, so now what we have to do is cut it out, add our snap, and add our eyelet. So we'll go with the cutting table and we'll do that. All right, so we're at the cutting table. So we've got this done. We need to pop it out of our hoop. You need to go ahead and trim all the sides here. Make sure that when you're trimming, you don't accidentally cut your rag there. If you want, you can go ahead and just shove it down in there for now, just to get it out of the way. So go ahead and trim around all the sides here. I like to trim about 1/4 inch away from my stitching. Makes it easier to hide if you got a couple wonky cuts in there. Then if you trim really close, it makes it kind of stand out a little more. So 1/4 inch or so is like where I like to put it. Maybe a little less, but I feel like that's usually a little safer. And then we have our eyelet we need to cut around. And that final edge. Now we're all trimmed out. Go ahead and take a second and trim up any loose threads that you might have on the back. My small scissors, of course, have disappeared on me, so we're going to make do with the giant scissors to cut out the loose threads for now. It's fine. All right, so all those are cleaned up. First thing, I'm going to go ahead and add the eyelet. So I'm going to use a crocodile, but if you have a set of eyelets, it probably came with a punch tool. So install the eyelet however you're used to installing it, or per the manufacturer directions for the eyelets that you have and the tools that you have. So I'm using a crocodile. My hole wants to run away. Go ahead and punch my hole. Let me grab a color. We'll do purple. And this will essentially be the front, so I'll put the colored part of my eyelet here on this front pocket here, and on my flange there on the back. Make sure I'm in don't think I am. There we go. Eyelets in place. So now we just need to add the snap. So I just need one snap tab for this, or one cam snap rather, I'm sorry. So male, female, and 2 flat backs. So there's my female, got my male. So with this, I'm going to install the top flap first. The flat back of this is going to go on the back side. That way the snap portion, I'm going to start with the male too. I think it'll make it easier to mark our spot. So I'm going to go ahead and punch a hole through here. Take my flat back, bring it in through the back here. And a couple things here. You can either at this point in time use this kind of spiky part of it to fold this down and mark a hole where you're going to punch that next piece, or you can wait and you can do it with the male part. But I think it's easier to use that kind of spiky part there to know where to mark and punch a hole for my next piece to get it lined up. So all right, so again, I've got my snap portion of it here, my flat back on the flat part in the back. Go ahead and one. And then since I marked that down there, I know where to place that. The flat back is going to go on the inside of the case. And my female end will go here on the front of it. So this, you're going to have to kind of squeeze it in to get it in. So don't be afraid to kind of move and squeeze your vinyl around, especially if you're using a press or pliers, so you can really get in there. Put that in. And we're in business. So we've got one case here, and the rag just pops out. You can unfold it, use it, wipe off your glasses, and then just shove it back in. That's it. And attach to a key ring. Oops. Attach to a key ring. You can use a beaded chain like this that I have, hang it on a bag, hang it on your keys, and you've always got a glasses rag with you. So super quick, super easy, 4x4 friendly. You use scraps of vinyl with this because these are pretty tiny. So that's it. I hope that was helpful.